Hi YouTube. I have a bunch of these old carbs, and I was running my CT90 on a Chinese clone until recently and thought, it would be nice to have a high altitude switch. So I got a bunch of old carbs and I made one nice carb out of all of them. But along the way, troubleshooting that, I found three things that I've discovered based on discussions in the CT90 Facebook group are not as well known as most of the other things about these carbs. It's pretty obvious that that comes out and that comes out and the jets come out, and they should be clean. But here are three things that are not obvious at all. The first one is that when you take the main jet out of there, this is already pulled out a little bit, but usually that's down right in there, and you can see it if you look in. But to get it out, you have to push it through from this end with a golf tee or a chopstick or something wood, something gentle. And that is absolutely vital. It's called the emulsion tube, and it is often overlooked. People don't even realize it's there, but you might be able to see there it has the same tiny little holes as the other jets, and if those jets gets clogged, then that explains things a lot. The jet is letting gas get through to this, but it's the holes in this that are actually distributing the fuel into the airflow. The needle is going down into that hole, so that is vital. Also vital is the quality of the O-ring on that. This is really hardened up and useless. You might be one of many people who has bought a rebuild kit and had a little O-ring left over, wondering what it's for. It's for right there. If that O-ring is in any way damaged, then there's going to be a pressure issue. It's going to be both a pressure issue, possibly air leak, possibly fuel leak, where you don't want things to go. It's absolutely vital. So that's the first thing I discovered that I didn't know, thanks to a suggestion by somebody on the forum. The next two I found out just by trial and error. Actually, the next one I found out by trial and error. This is missing a rubber seal of some sort. I don't even know what the original one should look like, if it's an O-ring or if it's a rubber washer. But if this isn't completely airtight, then you generate an air leak through this hole and maybe through the threads too. You might find that, like, if your engine doesn't start and idle nicely with this pin about 2 out, the idle screw about 2 out, if it has to be much further in, raising the pin, that could be because there's an air leak getting in the top. And point 2 and point 3 are exactly that. It must have some kind of rubber washer in there. I made one out of, I just cut a hose the right diameter, I took a slice off it, put it in there. I don't think the thickness is of crazy importance. No, it's not. The other thing is that the little rubber boot that slides down the throttle cable is not just for looks. It also has the purpose of stopping air from going in, air leaking in here, and possibly there too. So that both of those things, the rubber boot that slides down over that and the rubber washer in there, ensure that there are no air leaks going in the top of the engine. So if a lot of people will know how to check for air leaks, but I don't think most people are looking for an air leak around the bottom of the carb. If you're having issues, make sure you check for air leaks around this area too, because air can definitely get sucked down through here, and it's just as dramatic an issue. So I had a really rough idle. At a rough idle, then I was playing around with different needles, and in the process, a very old and crusty dead washer fell out of this, and I didn't worry about it. And then what I found is I put things back together, and I was starting the bike up, and then it was just starting to rev out of control. started normal, then revved out of control. That's because the extra air getting in here was making an extra lean mixture, which leads to higher revs, but is super bad for the engine. So there are three things that are less obvious about these carbs that could be the problem you're having right now and are definitely worth checking. Have a good one.